Hola chicos, I'm Christian and I'm moving to Spain, and this is Chris in Spain. So welcome to this video. This time I will do something different, quite fun I hope at least. I will talk about some fun facts of Spain. So well, let's get right into it anyway. The first fact I want to mention now you hear is the time zone of Spain. It's one fun fact I find very interesting and very fun. I think it's the funniest one I know. Now sounds like I'm gonna talk my own joke up too much and it will not be funny. It's not like laughable funny, but it's funny as a fun fact. It's funny. However, I think like well, how to say it? It's like I often think of this fun fact because when I first heard it or discovered it, what do you wanna call it? Learned it, got really deep into how it actually worked, then it was something I could never forget. But to not let you hang anymore if you don't know it already, I will tell you how the time zone works in Spain, because it's a very special country. It's the only country in Europe where the time zone is actually wrong, because normally the time zones are made by just drawing a line from central London and then mention a 24th of the circle, of the length of the Earth, and then make another line, and then you do that. And I know not all time zones are made like that, but roughly. Sometimes the time zone are not a straight line, but a different shape a little bit funny. But it's only done because of countries being shaped funny. But with Spain it's very different because we have England, like here. Left from England we actually have Denmark, where I live, and we have another time zone, plus 1 hour. Under Denmark we have France. France, what do always confuse the words, but we have France under Denmark, and actually France is already a bit to the west. That's west. France are a bit to the west from Denmark. It's more like Germany, Austria, Switzerland, maybe not us, and Italy are straight under Denmark. So they are straight on the plus 1 hour mark. But France are a bit inside a bit under England already, but still more closer to Denmark. So France got the plus 1 hour because most of France was on the plus 1 hour side. So all of France got the plus 1 hour because that's easier than having 2 time zones in one country. I know you have that in the US, but that's because it's such a big country. So there you have 5 time zones because else it will not make sense. But when a country is so small, they only have 2 time zones. They will most often just choose one of them. Most often the one that take up the most of the country, and then just live with 1 time zone. But Spain is even more to the west of France, so it's actually straight under England. And they don't have the same time zone as England. They have plus 1 hour too, like France and Italy. That's to the east of Spain, and both Spain and Italy are very big countries, so they take up the whole time zone by themselves. But you also have water in between, so Italy actually kind of a long way straight to the east and still have the same time zone. It's very strange they have the same time zones. And also on the chunk of Spain, the chunk you call mainland Spain, a part of that chunk are actually Portugal, and I should do this so you can see it. And Portugal has the same time zone as England, even though on top of Portugal there are some of Spain. So Spain are and it's actually going like this. So Spain are actually more to the west than Portugal. some of Spain, a little bit Spanish, and even though Portugal has another time zone, so it makes no sense that Portugal has another time zone in Spain, when Spain are almost crawling all the way around Portugal. So why is Spain not having the same time zone as Portugal and England, but the same time zone as Italy and France and Denmark and Germany and Austria? Well, that's actually because at one point in time it had the same time zone as England, which makes sense. But then the Second World War happened, and Mussolini, no, that's Italian, Franco, yeah, he was in charge of Spain, and Mussolini, it's Italian, I just mentioned, Mussolini was actually in charge of Italy on the same time. And Hitler, of course, was in charge of Germany. And Franco actually worked together with Hitler, and he loved Hitler so much that he changed the time zone to +1 hour because it's the same as Germany. So to show how much he wanted to work together with Hitler, he did that. Really strange. None other countries did that, but he thought it was a good idea for some reason. It was a mess and fucked everybody's lifestyle up, and people got so angry about it and find it annoying. But then after the war, it has been, or not after the war, because Franco actually lived longer. So when Franco died, I don't remember how many years it was, but when Franco died, it has been like decades of this time zone. So Spain pretty much got used to it. So they were actually thinking about changing it back to its original time zone after Franco died, because they were like, oh, well, it makes sense, it's a good opportunity to do it, and it makes more sense to have that time zone. But they ended up choosing not to do it because they have just got used to it, and it will just fuck Spain up for a full decade again if they change the time zone one again. So they don't, or didn't, should speak in the right time, they didn't change the time zone back to its original time zone, and that's why Spain still, as of today, has a strange time zone that don't work. Because some paperwork, you can call it. And I will say Spain is at least the only country in Europe that have the wrong time zone, but maybe it's the only country in the whole world that have the wrong time zone. But time zones are very strange and very hard to figure out. So many countries have strange time zones for one or the other reason. So I cannot say that Spain is the only one, but you can say it's the only one having it for exactly this reason. And you can say it's the only one that have a totally wrong time zone, but you can also say that there's other countries that have a time zone you maybe think is wrong because it's so strange that you think, why is it like that? But that's a whole other complicated story that takes more than an hour, even for another one than me that don't speak as much. So I will not get into that. So I will go to the next fun fact. I don't know if I will talk about more fun facts because I talk about them in a long time, but I don't think I have so much to say about the next one. So I will go to the next fun fact. And that's the olive oil in Spain. Because if you don't know it and have not read into it, you will maybe think that olive oil, that's something Italians are known for, right? And Italians are the biggest producers and users of olive oil, and they make the best olive oil, and they are world famous for it. But actually almost all of that is just plain old wrong, I have figured out. And it doesn't make sense. It's one of these facts where it's hard to get it right into the brain because it just seems so wrong that it should be wrong. And you don't really see the proofs in the everyday life that make you believe it's wrong and make you believe that the new fact you hear is actually the right one. But all my searching says that it should be right what I'm about to say it now, that Spain are actually the world's biggest producer of olive oil, and now when we add it, also wine. So everything connected to olive, actually just olives, growing olives and eating olives and all of that. Spain are the biggest producer of that. And not only that, because then you think, why is Italian famous for it, and why can you buy Italian olive oil all over the world? Well, you can't, because Italian olive oil are actually Spanish olive oil. Or this is a kind of hard part of it, because it's said that 80% of the Italian olive oils are actually Spanish, that are branded as Italian. But especially up in the countries where olive oil are not a native thing to a country, like in Denmark, it's almost, but you can never say it's true, because it depends on the country and the importer, and it can change from day to day. But it's almost 100% sure that the Italian olive oil you found in a country like Denmark and most other countries in Europe and the world will not be Italian, but actually Spanish. So that means that Italian olive oil shouldn't really exist in Denmark. It should be Spanish, all of it. And so that's quite interesting, because I can easily find some Italian olive oil in Denmark. Most olive oil is branded as Italian in Denmark, so all of this should actually be a straight up lie and actually be Spanish. And that's interesting, especially the thing that they directly lie about it, if this fact is true, and again everybody says it's true, so I'm starting to believe it is. And even Italian, like in Italy, when you buy Italian olive oil in Italy, there are still a very big chance that it's actually Spanish olive oil, because Italy are the biggest importer of Spanish olive oil in the world. So they don't, and that's because they are the biggest user of olive oil, and Spanish are a bigger producer than Italy, so Italy don't produce enough compared to how much they use. So therefore they have to buy it from Spain. And it makes sense, and they're close together, and it sounds like a good relationship, so that's totally fine, makes sense. But they're still branded as Italian. So that's the fun thing, is that even when you are in Italy and buy Italian olive oil, you can actually never be sure if it's actually true that it's Italian. The only thing you can be sure of is if it's branded as Spanish olive oil, you know it's Spanish. Because for some reason we don't do it the other way around. We don't brand Italian olive oil as Spanish olive oil. And it's really strange, because Spanish olive oil are better quality. And that's hard to say, because it depends on where in Italy and where in Spain and whatever. Yeah, of course, all these different qualities from Spain and from Italy, and then they are mixed, so you cannot say one are always better than the other. But at least some of the best quality tasty whatever olive oil in the world should come from Spain. So there's no specific reason to actually brand Italy as that they use that as a branding at all. It's just because Italy sounds good. All these Italian restaurants, like Italy has always been a good country to sell food. So I think it's these old school rules in our heads they are playing with when they do that. But again, if all olive oils in Italy was better than them in Spain, then it makes sense they will lie about the Spanish being Italian. But again, it's not like that. It's more like this, that the bads are close and the good ones are close. So it doesn't really make sense, and it maybe does, I don't know. Strange it is. But again, wine is kind of the same. Not that they branded wrong, because I've never heard about a wine being branded wrong. But Spain, with wine, you will maybe think that France, whatever, are the biggest producer of wine, because they're known for their wine. But in Europe, at least, Spain actually, that's what I've read and heard, they're actually the biggest producer of wine. and the biggest exporter of wine. And that's not France. And why it's not France? You will think it's France because you always see these French wines, right? But I can tell you why it's not France. That's because France are the biggest wine drinkers. So they drink a big chunk of their own wine. But Spanish people are actually not so big of wine drinkers compared to France and Italy, where they also grow olive to make wine. So of all these olive growing countries, Spain are the least wine drinkers. But that makes sense, whatever, you know what I mean. So they export almost all their wines, and then they drink beer instead. They also produce beers, and they import beers. So that thing makes sense in some way or another. So Spain are a very special country actually. There's many things where Spain is number one without anyone knowing it. But then we came to beer drinkers. They're not number one there, because of course they cannot beat Germany. And Germany is actually not number one, but that's for another fun fact video. But Spain are not either. But they are one of the bigger beer drinkers in Europe. It's very normal to go to a bar. For native Spanish, they go to a bar and they always get a caña. Also, we can also call this fun fact, but Spain has many names for beers. I don't know if that's normal in other countries. You can argue that we also have that in Denmark, but we only have one name that actually means beer. Then we have other things we say that just means bottle or glass or something, like we say something else, but we only have one word for the actual liquid, and that beer. So you can add a pint you can buy a pint, as you will say in England, in Denmark. But even when you buy a pint, you actually put the word beer in it. So if you translate the word we use in Denmark, directly it will be a pint beer. And you will say a bottle beer. Or there, in that case, you can say just a bottle, or you will call it just a beer. So we don't really have other words for beer. But in Spain they have cerveza, which I translate to beer and just means beer, the liquid, in whatever state it is. And then they have the word caña, and I'm not totally sure about this, but this is how I have understood it up until now, at least. And that is that a caña means a small beer in a glass, like a small glass of beer. So like a pint, but not a pint. A small pint. If there was a word meaning the reverse thing of pint, I don't know if you have that in England, but that's what a caña means. So very specific, and not so much about the beer. The beer is called cerveza, but more about this state and where you get the beer. That you get a caña. Caña is a very specific thing again. When you get a caña, it will always be the smallest glass they have with beer filled up in it, already poured up. And then they have a double, which means a double, as you can hear, and that is just roughly the double of the amount, maybe 3 times, and that is pretty much a pint. So that's what they call the pint. So that's a big glass. That's one of the medium to biggest glasses they have filled up with beer. So double means double. So they just say double, and I know what you mean when you say double. I don't know what caña means, if it means a small glass, but I think you can only use caña with beers. You cannot say a caña of aqua or something like that. You cannot say you want a small glass of water and ask for a caña of aqua, if you know what I mean. So I think caña means beers, but it means beers in a specific way. I'm not sure. So they have other words. But that's another fun fact, or maybe a fun fact, I don't know. I'm not sure about that, so don't count me in on that. But that's how I understand it, at least. What else? How much can we have? I have some that's kind of... No, just keep it in the production. And then we take a last fun fact in this video, and that is oranges, the fruit. That's an interesting fun fact I have discovered myself also, and that is that the fruit oranges can pretty much only grow in Spain, in Europe. They kind of can grow in Italy and Greece, but not natively. But I'm pretty sure that... Oh, I have actually forgot if they are native to Spain or not. But I know that Spain is famous for their oranges. And that's actually something they are famous for. And this is another thing, because when you are in the fine food category, then Italian is a brand. But when you are in the actual ingredients brand part, I would say, then Spain is a brand, because you have the Spanish oranges, Spanish cucumbers, Spanish tomatoes, like all these fruit and vegetables you have Spanish. And it's very strange, because in Denmark we have a lot of Spanish vegetables. I just say the word, now I cannot pronounce it. Vegetables, whatever, you know what I mean. But we do not brand them all as Spanish. Like again, the oranges we brand them as Spanish immediately, because then it's the best you can get. But we also don't have that in Denmark, because as I just said, you can grow them in Italy and Greece and Spain. But that's where you can grow them. You cannot grow them in Denmark. It will never be a fully grown fruit in Denmark. So therefore we brand it as Spanish. But cucumber and tomatoes, we make them in Denmark too. And therefore we don't brand the Spanish one. We just brand them as what will you say? Expats. No, it's not the word. We won't use that as a human, but what the imported one, but not, we brand them as out. Oh, I forgot the word. We brand them as just not native. And then we brand the Danish one as Danish, of course. So you can just choose Danish or other. But when you read closely on the others, it's often from Spain. And when I like to buy them instead, even though they're cheaper, then I buy them, because when they're from Spain, they are really good. So that's a thing. That's a fun fact about Denmark. I don't know if it works like that in other countries too, but a general thing is Spain is exporting a lot of fruits and vegetables, and oranges are some they are really known for, and they export to all of Europe. And the oranges are specifically interesting because it's only Spain they can really grow them, and they do it way better than other countries. And that's one of these things where the climate I cannot speak to it, and I'm coughing still. The climate in Spain are even so slightly different than Italy and Greece, that you can actually grow other things there, and that's very interesting. That Spain is the only country in Europe where you can grow that. That's another only for Spain. And not only can you do it, but they do it a lot. I see orange trees in the streets, just like for fun, for the beauty of it, and they're not even that beautiful, but they are beautiful enough, I would say. It's not the trash talk, the orange trees. So they really do it a lot, and they raise it like that. They don't. I'm not even sure. Maybe they don't. I have not seen them peel off the oranges from an orange tree on the street. So I'm not sure if they ever do it, or if they just go to waste. So I cannot say that they have so much that they actually waste it, but maybe they waste it. So I was about to say they have so many orange trees and it's so easy to go there actually base them, but I'm not sure about that, so I will not say that for sure. Anyway, I should I should make it very clear when it's not fact what I say, but it's my thoughts. And most has been fact today, and something has also been my thoughts. So it's a good time to stop the video because I can speak coughing too much. But yeah, as I was about to say, so yeah, this was this video with fun facts. So if you like that, then like it and subscribe for more fun facts, I guess, and also other videos about Spain and my movement to Spain, see my process of moving to Spain and see my life in Spain. Subscribe for that. Did I say that you should subscribe? I'm not sure if I say subscribe, so subscribe. And I'll see you next one. Bye bye.